Oh, cheeky, cheeky. Oh, naughty, sneaky.
Hey guys, welcome to another edition of Tropes to Infinity. I'm your host, Eric Block. With me, as always, is my co-host, Gene Freeman. And we're breaking into this week's episode with Brian Eno's Dead Finks Don't Talk, off his debut solo record, Here Come the Warm Jets. And we picked that song not just because it's awesome, but because we're going to be talking about crime. Just a couple of old scofflaws talking shop about doing crimes. No, not really. You can probably tell just by the sound of my voice that I have no idea how to do anything illegal and get away with it. We're actually going to be talking about Black Mass, the latest Johnny Depp movie, where he basically plays Whitey Bulger as a sort of vampiric ghoul. If you've seen the trailer, you probably know what we're talking about. He kind of looks through people when talking to them and is generally terrifying just standing around. It's his best role in years, and you should really check it out. We'll also be talking about the NWA bio Straight Outta Compton, which is a little more straightforward and hews closer to reality than Black Mass. No one in it looks like they're doomed for eternity to walk the earth under a witch's curse, but it's just as good a movie because it's another super compelling, true story, and one people went in droves to see. Meaning if Hollywood isn't totally idiotic, we'll probably see more movies centered around a black cast or around modern black culture, because it's obviously just as viable and profitable a part of the human experience as what we've been shown up to this point in the history of film. Then again, given that very risk-averse history that's just littered with the bones of sequels, prequels, and Fantastic Four reboots, we probably shouldn't underestimate the complete lack of foresight or even good judgment in studio executives literally paid to know what people want to see, even if they sometimes fall ass backwards into money from a great idea. Anyway, that's it for me. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show.
But these things don't walk too well.
Now we're going to have another open-ended discussion about a couple movies we've seen recently. Straight Outta Compton, the NWA biopic, and Black Mass, the Whitey Bulger biopic. We're going to talk about these in conjunction just because they're the last two movies we saw. And, they're somewhat tangentially related. They're both biopics, both about crime, at least Straight Outta Compton was in the beginning. It was about crime before it changed into being about music.
Yeah, about a life born out of crime, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, there's a sense in which, so Straight Outta Compton began life as the Eazy-E story, and I think if you watch it, it's still very much the Eazy-E story. I think you could safely say he's the main character of that movie.
Yeah, that opening is still really intense.
Fantastic opening in which we see Eazy's past as a drug dealer, and that's kind of the point I was going to make, is that the way it's presented in the movie, at least, Eazy funds their album sales and their record label with drug money, which is kind of what Whitey and the Winter Hill Gang were doing in Boston. Is not in the same way, of course, but taking the profits from their criminal enterprise and then diversifying it into legitimate business, which is smart money either way.
Yeah,
I think Eazy actually wanted to get out of the drug game. He actively wanted to get into the music business
because it's all a hustle.
Yeah, it was less opportunistic, but still, make money where you can, and then what you do with it is what counts.
Right.
There's one thing, and I'm no expert in the history of NWA. I listened to all those albums, and I know a little bit about it. But in real life, Jerry Heller, the character played by Paul Giamatti, a little bit more shrewd, a little more ruthless than he appears in the movie.
And the movie appears very put upon.
Yeah. No, he's he's a pretty sharp businessman as well. And in real life, it was actually Eazy who sought him out and, took the initiative in that partnership rather than the other way around. But I think it works, thematically, whatever. And I guess that raises the point about both of these movies is what significance would you place on, realism in a biopic? Because I would say it's not really that important. If it's a good story, then tell it. But it's a movie. It's not a documentary.
Yeah. I mean, if there's, let's say, half of what would be a really good movie, you can just pad out the rest with,
Yeah.
dramatization and switch some stuff around to, fill it out, which
I
is
mean,
it's about what they do.
yeah. I mean, what's confusing is when you take something that's actually more interesting and then you change it into something dull. But I don't think that happened in either of these cases. I mean, in Straight Outta Compton, they glossed over a lot of stuff, but it's a 2-hour movie. It's going to happen.
Yeah, something's going to get left behind.
Like, one interesting thing I thought they changed in Black Mass, which, as I was saying in our previous podcast, I really enjoyed. It was one of my favorite movies this year. I liked how it was. So the gangster movie has just been absolutely done to death. I mean, they beat the horse into the ground and dug it up and beat it some more. So it's always really good when you see a gangster movie that kind of does something a little different. It's not exactly the same thing you've seen many times before.
Yeah, this is a new influence that you see here.
There's definitely a little Scorsese flavoring to it, but it happens. Particularly The Departed, just because it's essentially the same story and set in Boston, where the boss is the informant and so on. But what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. But I think the way it presents the gangster film as a horror movie was different, because that was the impression that I got. Johnny Depp, and by the way, this is definitely a return to form for Johnny Depp. I can't think of a better role that he's ever played, quite honestly. Maybe Ed Wood. And that was over 20 years ago. So
yeah.
But he doesn't play Whitey Bulger as a real person, I think, at all. Yeah,
the real Whitey Bulger doesn't look or sound the way he looks and sounds in this movie.
Yeah, I think he's playing the real Whitey Bulger from the pictures I saw of him. Is kind of a dork, quite honestly. He had just like really bad fashion sense.
Yeah. In this movie, he essentially plays a cool Nosferatu.
Yeah. No, that's what I was going to say. I think he's playing the idea of Whitey Bulger. He's playing like what someone who lived in Southie at that time and had never met Whitey Bulger would have thought Whitey Bulger was like.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it was certainly, a strong performance.
Very tense movie. I mean, everyone he talked to, he sort of creeped them out. He was unsettling,
mm-hmm.
Which I don't know about the real Whitey Bulger. I can't see. I mean, he was a crime lord, but I can't see him intimidating literally every single person he ever came in contact with. That's just not a good business move.
Yeah, I know. They asked Kevin Weeks, who's one of the guys who put him away, played by Jesse Plemons in this movie. Like, once they caught him, they were like, "So are you, like, nervous that he's coming back to Boston or whatever?" He's like, hey, what is he, fucking Pablo Escobar? He's not going to walk out of the jail.
Yeah, exactly.
He's just some guy. And so that's how he looked at him. He knew him as well as anybody, I guess.
Yeah. Bateman's a Boy Scout.
Yeah. But I was going to say, as far as it fits with that and also with changing the reality of the story. I think one of the best sequences in Black Mass, not the Jet Li movie. Jet Li is Whitey Bulger. I think I'd pay to see that.
A couple of times.
Yeah. Was the scene where, so his executioner, a guy named Steve Flemmi, I didn't really pick up on all the details, but so they had to kill, I guess, his stepdaughter, basically.
Yeah.
And so Whitey strangles her, and the focus of the camera, it shifts off of the action and it just shows Stevie's reaction to it, which I think was a good choice thematically. And it sort of informed that character, whereas when you see him in the framing sequences where he is talking to the FBI agent, where he just kind of has like this weary attitude towards what's gone on. And when you sort of trace it back to that moment, it's like that's where he just kind of gave up. And it works in the movie. Whereas the incident that this was based on in real life apparently didn't go down like that. This was also something I've heard Kevin Weeks talk about because he was there too. And he said, yeah, I was actually surprised by the way Stevie didn't react to that at all. Like, I thought he was going to care, but he didn't. If anything, he seemed to be enjoying it the way he always enjoyed a good murder.
Wow.
So that's actually significantly scarier, but I think for the movie, it was the right choice to have it affect him more.
Yeah, you have to have one scary figurehead, not like a room of murderers.
Right.
I guess.
We can't have everybody be that way. But yeah, really good choices there. I think it ended well. Just he's got to get out of town and that's it. It didn't really fit the kind of movie that it was, but I'm glad they didn't have like a courtroom scene or something like that. That was actually what I was thinking too, is because it's like coming away from that, I was like, wow, that was a good movie. But I mean, he's still alive, and pretty much all these people are still alive. I was like, this is a great story. A lot of people had to suffer and die to tell that story. I mean, they should give some of that money to like somebody's family or something.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, this wasn't like a long time ago.
Yeah, like how many people did Bulger kill?
Yeah,
it was over a dozen.
They charged him with 19 murders. He obviously committed more.
Yeah,
and that's like people. I think that he killed himself, much less the people he ordered to kill. The highlight thing was fucking crazy because it's like he didn't even know that guy, and it was over nothing.
Yeah,
it was like skimming the parking fees.
Yeah, for this like highlight center, right?
Yeah, in Oklahoma, and like never met the guy, never knew anything about him, and this is like a really rich, connected guy. It was killing. Not gonna cut me in on the parking. Put a bullet in his head.
Yeah,
and I think that shows like the kind of. I mean, when you gotta, and you got the FBI in your pocket as he did, it kind of goes to your head, and I think that is sort of evidence of that. And also the way in the movie he would just gun people down like in broad daylight in the middle of the street like himself. Yeah. I don't know if that ever happened. But again, it fits with the theme of the movie that he's gone mad with power, that he's untouchable, that he would do something like that. Because there's no other way that I could buy that happening.
Yeah. Personally, my favorite scene in the movie, I mean, Johnny Depp was awesome, obviously, but my favorite scene in the movie was Whitey Bulger telling Peter Sarsgaard's character that he doesn't have to kill the guy.
Yeah.
Just take the money and walk away.
Yeah.
We'll pay you to not do this. And he's just not understanding that very basic concept.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hilarious to me.
That was a really good scene. I think that was a good role for Peter Sarsgaard. I think he had maybe 3 scenes, but really just kind of, he had an arc in those scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole cast was actually really good, come to think of it.
Yeah, they're really well cast.
Straight Outta Compton, I thought, was well cast as well. The one like notable exception, like O'Shea Jackson Jr. playing his dad, did a good job. He got the voice right and everything. He obviously bears some resemblance, but like in that scene where they're like at home and they show the real Straight Outta Compton video, and it's like, wow, look how young we were. It's like, man, he looks like 10 years older than you look now.
We was just kids.
Yeah, no, right? And his face was never quite puffy enough.
Yeah, he needed to gain more weight to look like his dad.
Yeah.
I mean, his dad played Doughboy.
That's what I always thought. Like, was Ice Cube supposed to be like a fat guy? Because I never thought of him as a fat guy. He's just,
I think
Ice Cube.
I think he was just what he was. He was just doughy, which is fine.
Because, I mean, when he played Doughboy in the opening scene when they were kids, he was definitely a fat kid.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, they just called him that because that was his name when he was a kid.
Right.
And he wore the Detroit Tigers cap, like me. But I never thought of Ice Cube as a fat guy, but he definitely had a puffy face.
Yeah.
If anything, Dre was fatter than Ice Cube. And he's ripped now.
Yeah, that guy is all trapezius muscles.
Yeah.
Just like all like shoulder muscles.
It's the fucking juice. I don't know, but probably. Which is not a bad thing. If you do it right.
Yeah, he's not playing a Major League Baseball game or something.
Yeah. I really don't think properly administered steroids are all that big a deal. It's just, they're easy to abuse.
Yeah, they're dangerous.
Mm-hmm. He's a billionaire. He can hire somebody to tell him how to do it.
Yeah.
It's not like he's got fucking Dynamite Kid jabbing horse tranquilizers in his ass. That really happened, and Dynamite also used to inject Davey Boy's ass with milk, just as a joke.
That's funny.
No, because he had never done steroids before, so he's like, oh, you you got to show me how to do it. He's like, oh yeah, I'll hook you up. It's milk.
Yeah. Does the body good.
Oh yeah. But anyway, I think there's actually the other interesting thing about Straight Outta Compton is that, okay, Black Mass I think was expected to do well, and it did. Johnny Depp has come out with several bombs in a row, but I think his name still means something. And the director, Scott Cooper, had a couple of hits. So I think a lot of things were expected of that movie. Straight Outta Compton, I don't think was expected to do as well as it did. I think people were, and it's ridiculous, and obviously now in hindsight that's been shown to be true, but they were like, it's too black, it's too urban. People aren't going to go to a movie about rap music. And
what are you talking about? The only people that go to rap shows are like white dudes.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, people are like, well, okay, all the black people are going to see this movie. Okay, so that's what, 20-something% of the population?
Yeah.
So everybody else who saw that movie was mostly white. And it's like, yeah, a lot of white people like rap music.
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't know.
It's 2015.
Yeah, in
1988 was a long time ago. That's a generation.
Yeah, what's the most popular show on TV? It's Empire, right?
Yeah, it's one of them now, yeah.
I've never seen the show, but it's about a record label, right?
Yeah.
I know it's a black show. Is it like a rap record label or what?
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Yeah. But so there you go. There is an audience for these things. And now that Straight Outta Compton has made a lot of money and it's been very critically successful, I've honestly not heard anyone criticize that movie.
Yeah, there's nothing not to like.
Like even the people who are portrayed in the movie, like Jerry Heller and MC Ren, are like, I'm not really happy with my portrayal in the movie, but it was a great movie.
Right. That was a good story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you can't even be mad at it.
So now that it has been so successful, I think we're going to get a lot more like that. We're going to get, you could honestly make a couple more movies about NWA. I mean, there's more story to go into. You could do a movie about lots of old school rap groups. Do the Public Enemy movie.
Hell yeah.
Do fictional movies. But the point is, obviously Empire was very successful. It's an urban movie with an African-American audience about sort of urban music, I guess. And now here's Straight Outta Compton, one of the most successful films of the year about the exact same thing. I think we're going to see a lot more of this. It was good.
Yeah. We'll start balancing things out.
Yeah. This is going to take kind of a left turn, but it reminded me of this. So I can't remember. I heard about this on some podcast where Viola Davis won, I think, an Emmy for something.
Okay.
And she was talking about how there needed to be more. She was celebrating that she was a woman of color who had won an award, and she was saying there needed to be more roles, that Hollywood was not diverse enough, I guess. And I think she was playing a doctor. And even if that's actually not true, the larger point that I make, I think, will stand. And there's a sense in which that's true. You don't see a lot of black doctors on TV.
Right.
But
you don't see a lot of black doctors in movies either.
But you do see a lot of black doctors in real life. Last time I went to the doctor was a black guy.
Yeah.
I know several black doctors. And I don't even think if you went into a hospital and your doctor was, a person of color, I wouldn't even notice that. Like, I wouldn't register it.
Yeah.
Like, when I got this thought, I was like, what ethnicity have the different doctors I've gone to been? I didn't even know. Yeah,
my last, I had Kaiser, like, just a few years ago. My doctor was black.
Yeah.
Was just a funny black dude, actually. Actually, most of the healthcare professionals I've come across in the last, let's say, 5-6 years have been Indian.
Yeah, that's true.
So
that's a group. East Indian and Asian is a group that you'd never hear saying that they're not represented in Hollywood. But, I mean, and that's kind of the point I'm making, is that if you're a person of color, should you aspire to play a doctor on TV, or should you aspire to be a doctor? Because the door to one is open and the door to the other one is closed. And I'm not drawing any conclusions. It just made me think, like, so if there's a lack of diversity in Hollywood, people would tend to think of that as a reflection of society. But there's a way in which it's really just a reflection of Hollywood.
Yeah.
Like, there's way more black doctors in real life than there are on TV.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's Hollywood's problem.
Yeah. As far as those professions, there's really no problem with diversity.
Yeah.
It's not that I have ever seen or heard of. Yeah, the whole problem is it's on screen, which is essentially just a bullshit medium anyway.
And when you look at it that way, it's like, yeah, Hollywood's pretty white. Movie industry, TV industry, pretty white.
Yeah.
If anything is overrepresented, it's fucking British people. So how many British actors and Welsh do you know? Dozens. But it's a pretty small nation. It's actually a pretty small cross-section of the population. If you compare the population of America versus England versus how many working actors there are, British people are way, way overrepresented.
Yeah, I think, what was it? London has like 1% of the population.
Yes, something like that. So it's like, would you say that Hollywood is racist? Or maybe it's just, well, it got started by white people. So there's a lot of white people. It's kind of like how there used to be a lot of Irish cops or Jewish doctors, or there's just certain professions that, I don't think anybody's trying to do anything, but it's just people of a certain background tend to gravitate towards a certain profession. And I guess for acting, it's British people. I don't know.
Yeah, Shakespeare and all that.
Yeah, and certainly a lot of Americans. And there's certainly a lot of very famous and successful Hollywood actors who are people of color. But just to the extent that they're underrepresented seems like more of a problem with the industry than with society at large.
No, it's absolutely true. Yeah, there needs to be some course correction.
Yeah.
On screen.
And to tie this back to the previous discussion, if, Hollywood execs or whoever was like, people are not going to see a movie about NWA because it's too black, obviously they just have no idea what the average American is like or wants to see.
Yeah.
Their finger is not on the pulse at all.
You know what this reminded me of? Most of the people that most people that go to see, like I said, rap shows are like white frat guys.
Yeah.
Most of the people, I think most people would think they go to see kung fu movies, say, black audiences.
Yeah.
So it's always, one kind of movie that you would think would be one kind of audience is pulling from another kind of audience because it's subversive.
Yeah.
Like the Wu-Tang Clan guys, they grew up on kung fu movies. They
bullshit, Mr. Handman.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't write songs talking about Shaft or whatever. They wrote songs talking about 36 Chambers or
I think that's why they cast Jim Kelly in Under the Dragon, because there was such a strong African American audience for kung fu movies.
Yeah,
I think they were realizing that.
And it's great. Like, I've seen kung fu movies in grindhouses.
Yeah,
it's a whole it's a whole thing. It's a whole atmosphere. It's fucking awesome. But a whole black audience, that's a good time.
Yeah,
that's a great time.
Yeah.
So,
you remember that in Living Color where they had the black movie theater where they turn the sound down so you can yell shit at the screen?
Yeah.
And then Jim Carrey got thrown out.
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
Like, some of us are trying to watch the film.
Yeah.
And it was The Fly. Was the
yeah.
movie they were showing of all things.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But anyway, yeah. So obviously Hollywood has no idea what people are like or what they want. And you just kind of have to work around it, I mean,
you got to make your own way.
Yeah. And I think if you kind of pay attention to them, you'll hear industry people, they'll talk, but they're talking to themselves. It's an echo chamber. And you kind of have to step back from that. So I try to do that. I watch movies, but I don't really try to read about movies that much. Behind the scenes or whatever, or why some person was cast, but industry stuff. I don't think it does any good.
Right.
It's all just prattle. To where I say we're going to see a lot more urban and music themed films. I didn't read that anywhere. It just makes sense. This one made a lot of money and you didn't think it was going to, so probably going to get a lot more.
Yeah. I mean, there's only a few sort of outliers where that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
Like Frozen. Not that I'm comparing straight out Compton to Frozen, but it's like Frozen was the first Disney movie in memory anyway that I could think of that had two princesses as the lead, and it made all the money that has ever been made.
Yeah.
And for some reason we aren't seeing like another kind of movie like that. We're not seeing Frozen 2, 3, 4. So it's not like Hollywood's jumping on the bandwagon of, oh, okay, two princesses is what people want, or this thing is what people want, so let's go do that.
What is Disney doing now? Have they announced their next project?
I haven't heard it yet.
Yeah, no, I haven't either.
So,
but I don't know. I mean, maybe there will be two princesses.
Yeah, eventually, yeah. But yeah, just the idea that Hollywood doesn't always know a good thing when it is hitting them over the head.
Honestly, it seems like they never know. Like, whoever the suits are, they know shit. They're just dopes.
Well, there's a lot of turnover too.
Yeah, and I mean that's the impression I get. I mean, I try very hard to not just dismiss people. Because like whenever someone is like, you know, an adult human, you've obviously been successful at your job and you have friends, you have a family. I'm like, this person is probably not just like a mouth-breathing idiot. But sometimes that's the impression I get. And that's the way that the Hollywood industry, the producers or the studio heads or whoever, anybody that's above like talent, that's how they seem. And I'm sure in their personal life they're not idiots, but they at least seem stupid about their job, which is to make movies that people want to see.
Yeah, exactly.
Seems like they succeed in spite of themselves.
Yeah.
And I could be wrong. I mean, as I said, I'm totally an outsider. I really don't know, but that's how it seems.
Yeah. Kevin Smith once said, in Hollywood, you just sort of fail upwards.
Yeah. No, yeah, he would know. And he said much the same thing.
Yeah. You can start out as Barbra Streisand's hairdresser and you become a producer.
Yeah.
Which is what John Peters was. John Peters, who did, he produced Batman.
Yeah.
1989.
Yeah, you know, another thing I've noticed they've been doing recently is they take like some hotshot indie director who's made like one hit movie for no money, and then they give them like $200 million. It's like your second movie is going to be, and it's like a franchise as well. Like Josh Trank is an example of this, who did the movie Chronicle for like $100,000 or $120,000. And then his next movie, it's like, all right, well, you're going to do the Fantastic Four, which is several $100 million. And it's like one piece of a very carefully orchestrated tapestry. And he blew it. I mean, the movie came out, everybody hated it. But I think there's something to be said for, you know, mid-level films. You don't need to go from 0 to 60. There should have been a couple movies in between there to where he could learn how to handle a project like that.
Yeah.
Because you're directing a Fantastic Four movie in 2015. Not only are you handling hundreds of millions of dollars, the expectations of thousands of people, you're helming a franchise with 60 years of history behind it, and you're in your mid-20s and you came out with one good indie movie. It just doesn't correlate, It's a different skill set.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it is guys just getting way in over their head. But the reason for that is because they've been hired because, they're a new director who can be controlled.
Yeah, well, I mean, you see what you get out of it. The movie fucking fails.
Yeah, exactly.
If you think that having a director who you can control is going to give you a profitable movie, obviously it isn't.
Yeah.
And why would you want to control somebody? I guess I phrased that wrong. Like, why would you want to control somebody rather than just hiring somebody who you can trust? Someone who knows what they're doing.
Yeah. I don't know. I think a lot of those kinds of movies go through several rewrites.
Yeah.
And they want someone who won't just walk away. So they really are just kind of, a pawn.
Yeah, I guess they tried that with Ang Lee's The Hulk, and that didn't work, so
Yeah.
we won't try that again.
Sort of, yeah. Where it's like, I mean, sometimes it works. Like, it worked for Jurassic World.
No, I mean, if you are able to handle that kind of a huge blockbuster, then great. I just don't think there's any way to know until you do it, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of like what I read Malcolm Gladwell say about being a quarterback in the NFL, that it's such a specific skill that there's just no way to tell if they're going to be good at it before they try. You could be like a star all through high school and college, best quarterback in the country, you get in the NFL, you fail. Or just the opposite. You could be a nobody and you become a star because it's just so different to, number one, playing quarterback at any other level or just any other thing you could do. And I think there's probably a parallel there. Helming, a huge budget blockbuster movie with all those egos. I mean, yeah, if you can do that, great. But I don't necessarily think you're going to know until you try. And that's sort of where the ramp up thing goes. Like, to use Spielberg as an example, like he did Jaws, which is definitely a blockbuster.
It was the first one, pretty much.
Yeah, but then like he didn't turn around and do Jurassic Park as his next movie. I actually don't know what he did right after Jaws, but there was a couple of Close Encounters, I believe.
Yeah,
but there was a couple of mid-level movies in there, and then once he had established that, he was able to do Schindler's List. And that's kind of what a career should look like. I think it shouldn't. I just think it's too much too soon with a lot of these directors. But I mean, you're right. That's the studio's fault. They want the franchise is the selling point. Just a Marvel on it, so people are going to go.
Yeah, it's just a brand. Like the flip side of that would be Eddie Murphy movies.
Yeah.
People will go to see those not even knowing what the titles are. One for Eddie Murphy.
Yeah. Like if Eddie Murphy's in a movie, I know I won't see it. Baffles me, but people are like that with Adam Sandler as well. Like I've heard people say that personally. Like I don't care what it's called or what it's about. If Adam Sandler's in it, I will go.
Huh. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was somebody who started at work recently was talking to me about that, and it's like he's trying to be friendly, but I'm just like, man, I just don't have anything in common with you, because he was like, oh, you know who like the funniest actor is? Jim Carrey, actually. But he's like, Jim Carrey and Adam Sandler, like anything either of those guys do is just the best. I'm like,
yeah,
all right, man. And he's like, you know what the best ones were? That's My Boy was his Adam Sandler movie, and Bruce Almighty. Out of any Jim Carrey movie, you pick that one.
I would have said Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, I don't dislike Adam Sandler and Jim Carrey. I like Billy Madison.
Yeah, but that was 75 years ago.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I can say. I like his dramatic work.
Yeah, Punch Drunk Love was really good.
Yeah, Punch Drunk Love was excellent. Even Funny People was pretty good.
Yeah, overlong maybe.
Such a weird bit of history that he turned down the Bear Jew to play the role he played in Funny People. And I still don't know if that was the right decision. Like, I would love to see Adam Sandler as the Bear Jew, but it was a small role. And Funny People was good, even if it didn't set the world on fire. I think it's probably better that movie exists. I don't know who they would have got if he turned it down.
Yeah. I was looking at Spielberg's filmography here as a director. Duel, Something Evil, Savage, Sugarland Express. I haven't heard any of those movies except for Duel. Yeah, Jaws, Close Encounters, 1941 was the next one.
So there you go. That ain't no blockbuster.
Yeah, no, it bombed. It was with John Belushi, I believe, and it was like a huge swing and big miss. And then, but yeah, there was then he kind of got back on track with Raiders and then E.T. and the rest is history. So
yeah, man. Kubrick was the same way. He started small.
Yeah.
The Killing, and was The Killing his first movie or his second movie?
I believe it was his first.
That was good. But yeah, he worked his way up to 2001. They didn't offer that to him as soon as The Killing was in the can.
Yeah, exactly. I'd imagine when The Killing was being made, 2001 would have been just beyond conception.
Yeah.
So
it's like the actual year 2001.
Yeah.
Is about when they'll make that. But yeah, I mean, it not only hobbles the movie, because it's like, okay, your movie bombs, big deal. I think it probably messes up the director's career too. Because now you're coming off of a sophomore slump, as they say.
Yeah, but what do Hollywood executives care?
Yeah. No, it's like, because, I mean, you live and die on your name recognition, right? I saw your name on a poster next to Bruce Willis's name. How much do you want? And I was like, well, what have you done? Fantastic Four. Yeah, get out of my office.
Yeah, exactly. I also feel bad for the actors involved.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a growing list of actors that have been in Fantastic Four, like some iteration of the Fantastic Four, and that movie just shit the bed. Because all of those movies have shit the bed.
They really have, and there's been a lot of quality actors involved. I guess worked out all right for Chris Evans, but nobody else.
And I mean, like by rights, that should be the most popular of the whole Marvel franchise, the whole Marvel, cinematic universe. There's a lot of good stories, Fantastic Four stories to pull from.
Yeah.
And they can't put one together for a 2-hour movie?
Yeah, and if not the most popular, at least like the cornerstone, the linchpin.
Yeah. Like I can see them making appearances in like other Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Just try it that way. Just introduce them that way, and then try this one more time and see if that helps.
Yeah, I mean, that's the good thing, that they're just such a juggernaut, no pun intended, that they can just, eat $300 million or whatever it costs. All right, try again. But yeah, even like the cover of the very first Spider-Man comic book was Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four, and they've always been there. I guess, I don't know, maybe it's because they've never had that kind of crossover appeal. Like if you're into comics, then you know and respect Fantastic Four, but they don't have that kind of mainstream recognition the way your Spider-Mans or your Supermans or your Batmans have. But anyway, yeah, Black Mass, Straight Outta Compton, Fantastic Four.
What we were talking about, it's not such a hard left turn when you go back through it. We were talking about Hollywood executives having their heads up their asses, not knowing a good thing when they see it.
Oh, yeah, you know what I was going to say? This was way back. But how I was saying that Black Mass actually did something a little different with a gangster movie. You know what the last movie I can think of that did that was?
What?
Eastern Promises. And not similar to Black Mass, but when you go and it's like, wow, that's really not what I was expecting. But that was a really good movie too.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, once I realized it, like that's kind of like how I felt watching Black Mass, where it's like, wow, this is really good. And it's not really familiar. Like, it uses all the same tools I've seen, but yeah, I like what you're doing with this. I like the feel to it, the rhythm.
Yeah. It's like sinister in a different way.
Yeah. Eastern Promises, not to digress, had one of my favorite fight scenes in any movie was that fight in the sauna.
Yeah.
Either like one dude was butt ass naked, but when you're fighting for your life and you're butt ass naked, it just adds a certain intensity to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are you going to do at that point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one, I mean, it's right up there with, They Live or any other kind of basically non-martial arts style fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember people saying Black Mass was a really violent movie. I didn't necessarily think it was, but it's probably just because I watch a lot of violent movies.
Yeah.
I think for a gangster movie, it was, what you'd expect.
Appropriately violent.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you watched The Nick.
Yeah.
It's probably desensitizing you by the second.
No, yeah, The Nick, and since it's been brought up, great show. Everybody should watch that. It's really not violent. It's just very gross. It's very bloody, but it's in a medical context.
Yeah. Oh, I dropped his brain again.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's true. They didn't even wear gloves back then. They're just diving in.
Wow.
I mean, they washed, but still.
Yeah.
Like, ew.
Yeah, I gotta check that out.
I'm 7 episodes in, so I have 3 left of the first season. I don't know when the second season's coming out, but it's something people do on podcasts. We can check in about like what we're doing. So that's pretty much like what I watch on TV right now. I used to watch a lot more TV than I do, but I've been trying to cut down. I don't know. I mean, TV's good, but it's not.
When we say TV, we mean Netflix.
Yeah. Like TV shows. I actually don't own a TV. I just watch it on the computer. But I've been trying to watch less TV shows. I don't know. like, I have nothing against TV, but it's not very stimulating in a way. So that's why I've been trying to watch less of it. I mean, you come home after work and you watch one show, that's fine, but you watch 2 shows and it's like, well, time for bed or whatever, and you didn't do anything. So right now, it's the Nick, and when that's over, I'll watch another one. But one at a time will be my rule from this point on.
Yeah, the last thing I saw was Daredevil. Netflix's Daredevil, and watched one, ended up watching all of them.
Yeah, that's kind of, I should say that's actually probably a good rule, is you can watch one episode, and if the show's good, you won't be able to not watch the rest of them. I don't know. I give myself 2 episodes to get into a show, because a lot of times the first one, you don't know who everybody is, and you're just kind of getting your bearings.
Yeah.
But if I'm not hooked by the end of the second episode, then whatever. I would have to have like a really, really strong personal recommendation from somebody. It's like, no, you need to stick with this show, and then maybe I will.
Right. I can't remember the last one where that was the case, where it wasn't just immediately good.
Yeah, I never did finish, but that's how it was when I started to watch Buffy. So people were like, well, the first season's not that good, but you got to watch it. So I was like, all right. And then I watched the first season, and then I think I knocked my hard drive off the end table, and that was it. I just never bothered to track it down again. But, maybe.
Yeah.
They said that about True Detective Season 2. They were like, oh, it's good, but you got to watch like the whole thing for it to get good. Like, it sucks until the end, and then you realize it was good the whole time.
No, yeah, it sucks until like the last episode.
Yeah.
And then you're like,
no thanks.
Fucking
I'll just watch the last episode.
Yeah.
I'll Wikipedia the rest.
Yeah, exactly. I'll read the synopsis online and then rewatch season 1 again.
Yeah. No, I did that with Boardwalk Empire. To this day, I've never seen season 1. I just read the Wikipedia on it.
Yeah.
Because season 2 was starting like that night, and I was like, I don't have time to watch this. So I'll just see what happened.
You're studying for a test.
Yeah. That's another show I watched for a while and then just drifted away from.
Yeah. I never ended up watching more than a few episodes. I never really got into it. So.
Yeah. I don't know. It seems like something you might like, but maybe not.
Yeah, I think it would be. I mean, I'm a big fan of Steve Buscemi. So.
Yeah, I know you like Michael Shannon.
Absolutely.
I don't know how you feel about the period, but
it's good.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing about these period shows. I noticed it about the Nick too. And when I heard Jim Norton, who I guess appeared on the Nick at one point, I have not seen that yet, talking about it. He was going on and on about how authentic it was, like to where like all of their clothes had to be authentic, like even the underwear and everything, and like if you were to open a drawer, what was in there had to be period authentic, even if the drawer was not going to be open for the scene. It was that kind of attention to detail,
Yeah, open the drawer over there is like a straight razor.
Yeah, but I'm like, man, that just the cost for something like that must be enormous. I mean, like, what's the benefit of doing that? Is just so everybody like really feels like they're there, so they can give a really good acting performance, or
that's how Fincher does it.
Yeah,
it's like he'll have a stack of newspapers, and all the newspapers will be the actual newspaper from like that day.
I know. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people get into that. I think it's funny when people don't. I think Olivier famously was not a fan of that. He's just, it's called acting.
Yeah.
I think Willem Dafoe gave an interview sort of like that. I think it was about Antichrist, where they were like, so what was your character's motivation here? And what was the story arc here? He's like, I didn't really think about it. It's just like, what do I have to do in this scene? That's how much I thought about it.
Right.
Got to get through that door. Yeah. But I don't know that he does that all the time, or if it was just a choice for that movie. But it was a pretty good movie, so I guess it worked.
Yeah, I mean, he's great at his craft.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's ever accused Willem Dafoe of being a bad actor.
No, certainly not.
Yeah. He did, in fact, play Christ.
Yeah.
So
it's one of the best.
Yeah.
Christ is a hard character to play. Yep. No, I can't think of anybody who did it better than him. Even though he's white. But I guess most of the movie Jesuses are white.
Yeah.
Bringing it back full circle, because Hollywood doesn't know what people want. So there we go. That's a good place to end it now.
Yeah.
Black Jesus.
Black Jesus.
I want to see that movie.
Absolutely.
That's a show actually. Black Jesus.
Yeah, actually it is. It's
It's an Aaron McGruder show.
Yeah.
Never watched it.
Yeah. Is it Adult Swim?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's check it out sometime.
All right. I guess we can end it there. So, thanks for listening.